The Galactic Council's chamber was a masterpiece of serene authority. Sleek walls of shimmering quartz, a massive circular table floating in zero-G, and delegates from countless star systems seated in rigid rows, their expressions carved from millennia of diplomacy. Silence ruled the room like an iron fist. Until it didn't. A cacophony of roaring engines and flashing lights shattered the stillness as a flotilla of human ships slammed through the docking bay, with all the grace of a meteor shower. The flagship, a gleaming silver behemoth plastered with bright, mismatched decals, blasted its entrance music, something unfamiliar but unmistakably Earth. "We will rock you," by Queen. Eyes widened, antennae twitched, tentacles quivered. The council chair, a tall, ethereal being named Calathra with glowing violet skin and 6 arms, raised a hand. "Order. This is the Galactic Council. Identify yourselves and state your business." A hatch burst open, and a swarm of humans spilled out. They were a motley crew, some in patched-up flight suits emblazoned with ironic slogans like "I break for black holes," others carrying mugs that read "World's Best Boss." They laughed, shouted, and waved cheerfully, utterly oblivious to the roomful of stunned aliens. "Greetings, we're the Earth Human Exploration Flotilla," their captain announced, voice booming and cheerful. "We heard you throw the best parties around here, so we brought snacks. And coffee. Lots of coffee." From behind the captain, a junior officer tripped, sending a box labeled "Instant Party Kit" tumbling into the aisle. The contents spilled out: streamers, confetti, a dozen rubber chickens, and a strange device blinking ominously. The aliens blinked. Several species began backing away. Calathra's 6 arms fluttered in exasperation. "This is a serious diplomatic assembly. Your behavior." A human engineer pulled out a small remote and pressed a button. Suddenly, the entire chamber was filled with pulsing colored lights and a deep bass beat. The humans immediately began to dance. One started beatboxing. Another whipped out a handheld projector, casting Earth memes across the walls. A particularly brave Plorixian delegate tried to cover their multiple noses as the humans uncapped a thermos emitting a rich earthy aroma. Coffee, apparently. Chaos was in full swing. An elder diplomat from the Martian cluster, a tall crystalline being named Zitrax, hissed, "Do they intend to insult the council with this madness?" "No," whispered an amused secretary nearby. "They're just really, really bad at introductions." Meanwhile, the junior human officer was already live-streaming the chaos back to Earth, narrating. "So yeah, first day at the Galactic Council, and we're totally nailing it. Stay tuned for the official How Not to Make an Entrance tutorial." Calathra sighed, then gave a reluctant smile. "Very well. Humans, welcome. Please, try to refrain from turning the council into a nightclub." The captain grinned. "No promises, Chair Calathra. But hey, if diplomacy had a soundtrack, this is it." The council chamber erupted into a mixture of horrified gasps and hesitant chuckles. The galaxy's most serious meeting had just become the wildest party it had ever seen. The Galactic Council's chambers were still trying to recover from the arrival of the human flotilla when the next shock hit. Uninvited, boisterous, and utterly relentless. Humans didn't do quiet entrances, or quiet anything. While the council chair, Calathra, attempted to restore order, the humans were already scattering throughout the ancient halls, some clutching datapads, others clutching what looked suspiciously like Earth-style party hats. The council members exchanged tense glances as the junior human engineer tripped a hidden switch on a console. The Grand Translation Matrix, a device revered for its flawless conversion of languages, sputtered and fizzled. Suddenly, every diplomatic speech being given through the Matrix was garbled into something that sounded like bad stand-up comedy. Councilman Grithak, a broad-scaled reptilian from the Zedera system, began his solemn speech on trade tariffs. What emerged through the speakers was, "Why don't Zedarians ever play hide and seek?" Because good luck hiding when your scales shine like disco balls. A wave of confused laughter rippled through the chamber. Calathra's 6 arms flailed helplessly. Who did this? A grinning human stepped forward. Oops, that would be Private Jenkins, our resident mischief maker. Think of it as cultural icebreaking. Meanwhile, the humans had transformed the council's stately atrium into a makeshift karaoke lounge. A tall human woman grabbed the microphone, belting out an off-key rendition of an Earth ballad. Alien delegates, unsure whether to be horrified or amused, found themselves drawn into the growing crowd. Across the hall, a group of Plorixian delegates, usually stoic and odor-sensitive, were ironically forced to endure the humans' instant party kit, which included a mysterious party grenade. The device exploded, releasing a harmless but highly persistent cloud of glitter, neon streamers, and a pounding techno beat. One Plorixian delegate started to twitch involuntarily, a side effect of their species' sensitivity to sudden noise and light. On the council floor, debates over trade, peace treaties, and cosmic regulations were drowned out by bursts of laughter, clapping, and sporadic applause for humans attempting Earth dance moves. Council Chair Calathra took a deep breath. Humans, while your enthusiasm is admirable, this is a place of diplomacy and decorum. The human captain shrugged. Right. But you know what they say. You have to break a few rules to make a great first impression. One of the human officers approached a holographic console and started hacking, except not for war or espionage. Instead, they began projecting ridiculous holograms of alien delegates wearing party hats, oversized sunglasses, and dancing with rubber chickens. Alien delegates looked at each other, some amused, others horrified. From a side room, the Martian cluster's Z-Trax hissed. They threatened the sanctity of the council. But even Z-Trax couldn't suppress a grudging smile as a holographic version of himself broke into a goofy dance. Meanwhile, the junior human officer live-streamed every second back to Earth. The council's gone from 0 to party in under 5 minutes. This is why humans are the galaxy's best diplomats. Because we bring the fun. Council advisors whispered urgently about damage control, while the humans continued turning the once solemn chambers into what looked suspiciously like an interstellar rave. And yet, beneath the chaos, a curious thing was happening. The council wasn't breaking apart. It was loosening up. The galaxy's most serious leaders were starting to laugh. The morning after the flotilla's arrival was supposed to be the moment for formal introductions. Instead, it quickly became a test of everyone's tolerance for anything unexpected. The human delegation, still riding high on last night's karaoke marathon, showed up carrying an assortment of peace gifts they'd proudly claimed were Earth traditions. The council chamber, still glittering faintly from the party grenade, was soon littered with a bewildering array of items. First came the hot sauce. Captain Jenkins, the human prankster, presented a small vial labeled Carolina Reaper to the reptilian ambassador Zithrak with a wide grin. Try this. It's like a friendly welcome, just with fire. Zithrak's slit pupils narrowed suspiciously. The ambassador took a tentative taste. Moments later, his scales flushed a deep shade of crimson, something not natural for his species, and he hissed, smoke seeming to curl faintly from his nostrils. The chamber froze, then erupted into laughter, some polite, some nervous. "I survive," Zithrak managed, voice rasping. Next, a box of rubber chickens, far more than any reasonable diplomacy would require, was solemnly laid before the council chair. Symbolic of resilience, the captain explained, or something like that. They're kind of a big deal on Earth. A junior Martian delegate carefully poked one with a claw, causing it to emit an absurd squeak. The normally dignified diplomat let out an involuntary chuckle. Suddenly, from a corner, a human tech specialist activated the instant party kit again, this time releasing a cloud of pungent smoke. The source: freshly brewed Earth coffee. Most alien species recoiled. None had experienced a scent so simultaneously inviting and overwhelming. But a few curious delegates, including Calathra, found themselves inexplicably drawn to the aroma, their tentacles twitching in intrigue. Then came the culinary contest. Humans insisted on settling a friendly competition, Earth cooking versus alien delicacies. The council's massive kitchen chamber filled with the sounds of sizzling, chopping, and occasional bursts of laughter. The humans whipped up something called tacos, much to the confusion and eventual delight of the alien judges. A grown warrior spat out a bite with a look of shock, followed by begrudging approval. "Spicy, but powerful," he grunted. Meanwhile, the Illinari bureaucrats observed the chaos through their many eyes, secretly impressed by the humans' ability to turn even a formal meal into an unpredictable adventure. Meanwhile, a holographic cyborg food critic named Z3R0 gave a deadpan review. The Earth cuisine introduces chaos theory into gastronomy. 5 stars for creativity, 2 for hygiene. The Plorixians, however, were less enthused, mostly due to their delicate sense of smell and a sudden allergy to cilantro, and earth herb humans seemed to adore. Calathra sighed, but found herself laughing as a human tossed a rubber chicken toward her. She caught it awkwardly but appreciated the gesture. "Perhaps these humans will teach us more than protocol after all," she mused. Unbeknownst to the council, hidden in the corners of the chamber, a faction of shadowy aliens whispered concerns. Were these humans a threat, or a new kind of unpredictable force the galaxy was not prepared for? Either way, the council's carefully maintained order was crumbling, and nobody quite knew what would come next. Just as the council began to settle, cautiously optimistic despite the rubber chickens and spicy mishaps, an unexpected incident pushed things from quirky chaos into full-blown pandemonium. It started with a low hum beneath the floor plates. The council's security drones, normally silent and imposing sentinels clad in sleek black alloy, began to shift awkwardly. Their glowing sensors blinked in unison. Then suddenly, without warning, they burst into synchronized motion. The drones were dancing. Not the precise, methodical patrolling of protocol, but full-on, flamboyant dance routines. They spun, glided, and even executed a surprisingly coordinated robot dance, all timed perfectly to a pulsing beat that echoed through the marble halls. Council members stared, stunned. Council Chair Calathra's tentacles twitched in alarm. "Security breach. Halt this at once." But humans only laughed. Captain Jenkins, grinning ear to ear, approached the console controlling the drones. "Relax. We just gave them a software upgrade. Added a little flair. We call it peace through dance. It's a universal language, right?" The human engineer pressed a button, and the lights dimmed, replaced by holographic disco balls spinning overhead. The chamber quickly transformed from austere meeting room to an impromptu dance floor. One alien delegate, a 4-armed grown warrior named Crag, raised a claw. "This is unprecedented." Another, a slender Ilnari bureaucrat, adjusted her glasses as she hesitated, then tentatively stepped forward, mimicking the drone's moves. The room erupted in reluctant laughter, then cheers. Even the stoic Martian cluster delegates attempted awkward dance steps, their crystalline limbs glittering under the disco lights. Meanwhile, the humans broadcast the spectacle live across multiple systems. Council dance-off, the headline read. The galaxy watched, riveted. But the real surprise came when Z-Trax, the crystalline Martian elder who'd hissed disapproval earlier, strutted onto the floor and challenged Captain Jenkins to a dance duel. The two circled each other, then launched into a bizarre combination of moves. Jenkins with breakdancing spins, Z-Trax with elegant crystalline twirls. The crowd roared as the duel ended with a flourish and an alien handshake. "What is this sorcery?" whispered a shocked Plorixian delegate, clutching a mug of very weak alien tea. "It's humanity," Calathra said, half smiling. "Unpredictable, disruptive, and somehow disarming. Yet beneath the laughter, some council members exchanged worried glances. Was this innocent fun or a distraction? Could the humans' chaos be a cover for something darker? Unbeknownst to most, a shadowy faction watched from the sidelines, recording every moment with suspicious intent. But for now, the council danced, the security drums twirled, and humans reveled in their own brand of diplomacy, loud, unorthodox, and undeniably effective. As the music faded, Jenkins grinned and said, "If you want peace, you gotta dance for it." The galaxy might never be the same. Diplomatic talks had finally begun, or at least, that was the official story. In truth, the Galactic Council's chambers resembled more a circus than a seat of interstellar governance. The humans had settled into their roles with a surprising ease, though their antics continued to defy all expectations. It was during one such session, when debates over trade tariffs were devolving into polite bickering, that Captain Jenkins leaned forward and issued a challenge that would become legendary. "I dare you," Jenkins said, grinning broadly, "to try some Carolina Reaper chili." The target was none other than Sithrak, the stoic reptilian ambassador who still sported faint red patches from the earlier encounter. The room fell silent, every eye focused on the reptilian scales, now twitching nervously. Sithrak's eyes narrowed. "This is a test of honor." "Absolutely," Jenkins nodded. "And diplomacy, too." A vial was passed across the table, small and ominous. Sithrak hesitated, then took a single, cautious bite. What followed was a spectacle no diplomat expected. Sithrak's nostrils flared, and his scales shifted through a riot of colors: crimson, violet, then a shocking neon green. His tongue flicked rapidly, and a thin stream of smoke curled from his mouth. "I am enduring," he hissed, voice rough but defiant. The room broke into laughter and applause. Even Calathra had to hide a smile. The humans looked on proudly, as if this was the diplomatic equivalent of winning a battle. Seizing the moment, Jenkins pulled out more chili vials and proposed an impromptu interspecies spice tolerance contest. Delegates from various worlds lined up, some eager, others terrified. Each bravely sampled the fiery concoctions, with reactions ranging from tears and wheezing to surprisingly steady composure. A grown warrior slammed his claw on the table. "This is torture, but worthy of respect." Even the Plorixians, who earlier recoiled at Earth's coffee, attempted to hold their ground, until one unfortunate soul sneezed fire. Literally. Amid the laughter and camaraderie, a sudden hush fell over the room. Behind the scenes, an alien faction had been trying to exploit the chaos. A shadowy group sought to sabotage the talks by hacking the Council's communication channels, intending to blame humans and spark distrust. But humans, as unpredictable as ever, caught on. One human engineer quietly countered the hack with a clever algorithm, part coding, part prank, that rerouted the sabotage back to its source. The Council's security system blinked approvingly as the would-be saboteurs found themselves locked out and exposed. The room erupted into cheers. Calathra looked at the humans anew. "Your unpredictability. It may be your greatest weapon." Jenkins wiped sweat from his brow. "Or our greatest party trick." As the spice contest wound down and negotiations resumed, slightly more relaxed than before, the Council began to realize something profound. Humans didn't just break protocol. They rewrote it on their own chaotic terms. And somehow, it was working. The initial shock of the human flotilla's arrival had long since worn off, but the ripples of their chaotic diplomacy continued to reshape the Galactic Council in unexpected ways. What began as disruption was evolving into something altogether different: connection. In the days following the hot sauce challenge and the impromptu dance-offs, the alien delegates found themselves drawn to the humans' unfiltered energy. The stiff walls of protocol were cracking, replaced by laughter, curiosity, and sometimes even genuine friendship. The Ilinari bureaucrats, known galaxy-wide for their rigid adherence to rules, were the first to show signs of change. A group of young Illuminati tentatively gathered in the council's library, scrolling through human memes on a tablet lent by a human tech specialist. "I don't understand the humor," one elder hissed, watching an image of a cat wearing a tiny helmet labeled Space Marine. "But the absurdity is refreshing," the youngest replied. "It's like a new language." Meanwhile, the grown warriors, muscle-bound and battle-hardened, were seen engaging humans in strange new rituals, dodgeball matches in zero gravity. The booming laughter and grunts of effort echoed through the hallways, breaking down barriers forged in war and suspicion. One grown captain admitted, "The humans' strange games teach us tactics and trust. We are surprised." In the council chamber, Calafre observed these developments with growing admiration. The humans' blend of humor and strategy was unlike anything she'd seen in her centuries of service. During a particularly tense negotiation over interstellar resource rights, a human delegate cracked a perfectly timed joke, cutting the tension like a laser scalpel. The room burst into laughter, and an agreement was reached within hours. Even Z-Trax, the once cautious Martian elder, found himself exchanging stories with Captain Jenkins over cups of steaming coffee brewed in a peculiar Earth contraption. "You humans," Z-Trax mused, "you bring unpredictability and warmth. It is disarming." But the true breakthrough came during a late-night meeting when a group of alien delegates, gathered in the lounge, attempted their first human-style happy hour. The ritual was awkward, filled with strange drinks, questionable music, and countless attempts to understand Earth slang. One Illuminati delegate, after downing an oddly spiced beverage, laughed until tears ran down her many eyes. "Perhaps we have underestimated the power of chaos." Calafre smiled softly. "Perhaps it is not chaos, but connection." Yet beneath the joviality, whispers of concern lingered. Some factions worried the humans' influence might destabilize long-held alliances. Others feared their unpredictability could invite disaster. But for now, bonds were being forged, in laughter, in competition, in shared moments of absurdity. And in the heart of the Galactic Council, a new kind of diplomacy was taking root. One that embraced the chaos. One that embraced humanity. The Galactic Council was buzzing, not with the usual formal debates or tense negotiations, but with an air of anticipation that no one could quite explain. The humans had settled in as peculiar guests, their laughter and unpredictability leaving a permanent mark on the chambers. But today, Captain Jenkins had called for a special session. Calafre, curious and cautiously optimistic, took her place at the head of the floating table. The humans arrived carrying an enormous, clumsily wrapped package, emitting curious noises that resembled distant giggles. "Today," Jenkins announced, "we come not just as guests, but as partners." The council fell silent. Jenkins carefully unwrapped the package, revealing an intricate, gleaming device, an Earth invention adapted for interstellar use, a universal translator and peacekeeper. Unlike the council's standard model, it was built with human unpredictability in mind, capable of adapting to cultural nuances and even humor. "We call it the Harmony Engine," Jenkins said proudly. "It learns, it adapts, and it helps avoid misunderstandings before they start. Think of it as a diplomatic guardian angel." The council members exchanged wary glances. After all, humans had proven that chaos was their natural state. Could they be trusted with such responsibility? Before doubts could fester, Jenkins continued, "But that's not all. We want to propose a formal alliance, a human council delegation dedicated to bringing fresh perspectives and uniting species through cooperation, laughter, and, yes, occasional chaos." Whispers erupted. This was unprecedented. The council had never formally integrated a species so young, and frankly, so unorthodox. Sithrak, still recovering from the hot sauce challenge but clearly impressed, spoke up. "Humans have disrupted our order, but also strengthened it. Their unpredictability is both a challenge and an asset. Calathra nodded slowly. If this harmony engine can indeed prevent conflict through understanding, it may be the key to a new era. The proposal wasn't without opposition. A shadowy faction voiced concerns over entrusting such power to a species they considered reckless. But the humans had anticipated this. Captain Jenkins smiled and said, "We don't expect perfection. We expect effort. We bring unpredictability, yes, but also heart. And sometimes that's exactly what the galaxy needs." After hours of deliberation, a historic vote was called. The decision was unanimous. The humans would become an official delegation. The Harmony engine would be integrated into council operations, and a new chapter would begin. As the session adjourned, Jenkins turned to Calathra. "You know, Chair, we might just be the biggest surprise this council has ever seen." Calathra smiled, genuine, warm, and tinged with hope. And perhaps the best one. The Galactic Council chamber gleamed under the soft glow of countless stars, now a place transformed, not just by architecture or technology, but by spirit. The humans had carved their place in the cosmos, not through conquest or domination, but by turning chaos into connection. The newly installed Harmony engine hummed quietly at the center of the chamber. Its adaptive algorithms wove through the tangled web of languages and cultures, easing tensions and bridging gaps that centuries of tradition had failed to close. Captain Jenkins stood beside Chair Calathra, watching as delegates from dozens of species mingled, sharing stories, laughter, and even the occasional joke. It was not the council anyone had expected, but it was exactly what the galaxy needed. "Look at that," Jenkins said, nodding toward a group of Plorixian diplomats attempting human-style fist bumps, their multiple limbs awkward but enthusiastic. Calathra's 6 arms moved gracefully as she smiled. "You have brought life to this place, Captain. The galaxy has found a new rhythm." The first meeting of the Human Council delegation was underway, and the mood was optimistic. Humans took their seats alongside venerable species, their antics tempered by genuine respect and understanding. The balance between chaos and order had been found. But the galaxy was vast, and peace was never guaranteed. Suddenly, the chamber's security sensors flared. A rogue signal detected near the outer rims of the Council's domain. An unregistered fleet, moving fast and silent. Jenkins' expression hardened. "Looks like the galaxy's not ready to rest just yet." Calathra nodded. "Then we face it together. The Council and humanity." Delegates rallied, the unity forged through laughter, challenges, and shared experiences now a powerful force. The Harmony engine pulsed, its glow steady and reassuring. The humans were ready, not because they were perfect, but because they were relentless, adaptable, and most of all, human. As the alien fleets prepared for what could be a new conflict, Captain Jenkins glanced back at the council. "Remember," she said with a grin, "sometimes you've got to dance before the fight." And with that, the Galactic Council, guided by a newfound alliance, stepped boldly into the unknown, united, unpredictable, and unstoppable.